welcome to Getting to the Top, where today I have the absolute honor of interviewing none other than the absolutely fabulous and extraordinary Wendy Fitzwilliam. Wendy is, forgive me, I guess I'm a little nervous / excited. Wendy is, among many other things, the host and executive producer of the Caribbean's Next Top Model. She's had over 20 years of national and international experience with a number of officials, diplomats, governments, senior executives. She's an executive business consultant. She is a sports enthusiast, a wonderful tennis player. She is an author. She is a mom. She is a current national icon, but a former Miss Trinidad and Tobago, Miss Universe. And among other things, she preceded me as the head of Invest TT and left a phenomenal legacy in that role. And if I told you everything that I know about her and admire about her, we would only have time to hear me talk, and we wouldn't hear what she's been doing and what she's been up to. So welcome, Wendy, and thank you so much for joining us on Getting to the Top.
Racquel, it's wonderful to be here. What an introduction, my friend. Thank you so much.
No, wonderful.
It's great
to
be
have
with you.
So, we talk to transformational leaders in this program, and we talk about,
Yes.
their journey to the top and how they were able to get it in hopes of inspiring other leaders to do the same. But your journey would have had quite an extraordinary start and very different from what most of our listeners would have been used to. But I still want you to tell us a little bit about the journey, like how did you start and where did you get to? I didn't even mention the most important thing. She's a trained attorney. But you see, too many things to share. But so tell us about the journey a little bit and how you got to this place where you are right now.
I like to say with determination and quite by accident. I am the kind of person who never really loved the word no, which is both an advantage and a flaw, right? As most things in life are.
Yes.
And so I tended to take advantage of the opportunities that come my way, and that has a lot to do with my upbringing, the way in which my parents raised my sister and I. They were very determined to raise two well-adjusted human beings. Gender was not nearly as important to them as the kind of human beings we were at a time when women showing up in all facets of life, professionally or personally, was not the norm. Certainly becoming more so, but absolutely was not the thing of the day. I am not ashamed to say I was born in the 70s. I'll be soon, though. I'm going to be officially over the hill shortly. But that really, I think my upbringing had a lot to do with not only the choices I made, but the lucky accidents along the way. Okay. Just being willing to say yes and take chances.
So tell us about some of those lucky accidents.
Well, one, attending St. Joseph's Convent as a young girl at the age of 11. Now it's SCA here in Trinidad and Tobago. Across the region, we have this awful exam we make children write at the age of, say, 10, 11 to get into high school. And I wanted to go to St. Augustine Girls High School because I loved the uniform. I knew of and loved the principal, and I loved the grounds of the school. Racquel, I am from Diego Martin. My mother taught at my primary school, Diego Martin Girls RC, and my father worked in Port of Spain, and we have no connection to East Trinidad. My father's like, how you plan to get into that school, my friend?
And how you plan to get there?
Correct. And if you do pass the exam for that school, how are you going to get there? And if you pick St. Joseph's Convent, my mom is an old convent girl, and I loved convent too, as your second choice, you realize you're saying to the government of Trinidad and Tobago, to hell with you. If you don't,
the most prestigious, one of the most prestigious institutions. Yes. Yes. No, it's not really my first choice.
Correct. They're going to put you wherever they want to put you,
Yes.
which put a lot of pressure on me, but they allowed me. Most parents would have changed that choice immediately.
Wow.
And they allowed me to put the choices I wanted, and that just meant I had to work exceptionally hard. I put myself under insane pressure for that exam. But it worked out. I did not pass the exam for St. Augustine Girls High. I ended up at St. Joseph's Convent, which is not really an end up. At that time, St. Joseph's Convent and St. Augustine Girls High were the two top girls' schools in the country. And I'm very happy.
And Bishop Anstey, I might add.
Oh, yes. But in terms of like scholarships, etc., convent and SAGs are always neck and neck,
Yes.
And it turned out to be a phenomenal experience. I'm very, very happy that I'm a convent girl entering Miss Universe. I always wanted to be a fashionable attorney, and I mean always. My sister wanted to be an astronaut at one time, an actuary, many things. She settled on finance and did very well in that space. She's a year younger than I am. I always wanted to be a very cute attorney. Always loved fashion, but I couldn't figure out how to earn a living or the kind of living I would have liked to in the Caribbean doing fashion. And I love where I come from. I had no real desire to live anywhere else. Travel extensively, but I do love the Caribbean tremendously. And so I did, again, took another chance at the end of high school for A-levels. I did not do art for O-levels because my father was not about that life at all. And he was away when I was choosing my subjects for A-levels. So I convinced my principal, Sister Paul at Convent, to let me do art for A-levels without an O-level pass.
Wow.
And she let me do it. And not only did she let me do it, she let me do art for A-levels in an area of art that Convent had zero expertise. And that is fashion design and surface textile design. Yep. And that's because from Form 1 to Form 4, I did what was then sewing courses at a little school, a little fashion school, very close to my high school in Port Spain. And Daddy made me stop when I was going to write exams. And because I decided I was dropping French, again, ever the negotiator, I sucked at languages. And at Convent, you had to do a language. And I convinced Sister Paul yet again. I said, Miss Sister Paul, I love you and I love this school. But if you want me to do well in this exam, you let me drop French. I can do 7 subjects and do them amazingly well and get you many, many ones. Or I can do French and deliver a host of Bs. The choice is yours.
So she said, okay, so definitely a lawyer in training.
Yes. So she let me drop French. Yes. And I did well at O's, and then I convinced her yet again to let me do art at A-levels. And when my father got that, he was in Canada at the time, the list of things I wanted him to bring back for me from Canada, he wanted to die. He was like, what is all of this? I said, well, Dad, I'm picking up art. I didn't tell him I'm picking up art for A-levels. I just said I'm picking up art. And I am not only making my own clothing now, Daddy, I am designing and making my own fabric.
Wow.
He was like, okay. And he got all my stuff. And then he realized, wait, you're doing what?
and
that just made me work harder.
Level, yeah.
Correct. It made me work because I had to basically do O-level and A-level art in the 2 years.
Right, because you have to prepare yourself. Yeah.
Correct. And I also had to deliver on my other subjects because if I was going to do that, I had to make sure that I did well in my business subjects, English, etc.
Yes.
So, I've sometimes put myself under unnecessary pressure, but to the rest of the world, but pressure that works for me. And career-wise, after university, I had the opportunity and I tested for, and they liked me for Victoria's Secret. And at the same time, another Caribbean woman who did very well with VS, a friend of mine, Salita, had gotten her first billboard in Times Square on the side of a building, and in her underwear. And I thought to myself, this is not where I want to be. Like, I do not want to see my crutch 2 stories high in Times Square. You know? And that's just a personal choice.
Right.
Sometimes I regret not taking that check.
It would have taken you in a totally different direction.
But it would have taken me in an absolutely different direction. And it may have been a wonderful direction.
Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah.
But I just didn't feel like it was right for me, you know, and I often go with my gut. So the jobs I've done professionally, and it's not that VS is more risky than anything I've done. I'm very comfortable posing in swimsuits, etc. But I just didn't feel like being a lingerie model was the right thing for me, you know?
Yeah, but I think, you know, and I'm currently reading Richard Branson's book, The Virgin Way. And he talks about trusting your gut, because it's really about knowing, you know, I feel like there's an intuition that we have about our path, that you don't know what it is. You don't know how it's going to work out. But sometimes you get to a crossroads and you say, no, not this. And it's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but it is a you thing.
It's your thing. For me, Racquel, that is my spiritual self talking to my physical self. That gut feeling for me, that's how I describe it. It's like, you know, that the inner angel saying, girlfriend, trust me, that's not for you. You know? And sometimes you think you regret it, but later on in life, at various stages of your life, things just fit in, you know, and fit into where they should be perfectly, you know, even if it doesn't make sense in the moment.
Yes, you know? I've had so many things like that where, you know, you miss an opportunity or something happens and you're like, oh, I feel so bad. I didn't get that job, or I didn't get that thing. And then you're like, oh, it's all ruined now. And then you realize, you know, it may be 6 months later, it may be 10 years later. You're like, this is exactly how it was supposed to work out. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Yeah, exactly. So great. Trust your instinct and move in the direction that you feel the universe is taking you. So then, so then you pick the road less glitzy. So then you decided, okay, what were you doing? Not VS, but.
Yeah, so I continued, of course, to do a lot of work in that space, because as I've said, I've always loved the fashion industry, the beauty industry, and law and service, which is something else my parents instilled in me. So how do you marry those things? The fashion is really hard to work into the public service unless you dress the part, and I did. Every day. Yeah, I'm sure your fellow colleagues at InvestCT will tell you that I enjoyed playing dress up. Right?
Listen to me.
And I still do. During this pandemic, I remember the first time my son, who is now away at boarding school, before he left, I wanted to make sure he was confirmed, because we are a Catholic and we enjoy our faith. And he was going to a school that is now non-denominational, but started as an Episcopalian school, an Anglican school. So I said to myself and to Father Gregory, I need to get this child confirmed. Pandemic or not, I know confirmation is shut down, but we have to get Elon confirmed. So he said, he's such a gracious, delightful man. Elon's principal and you know, priest I've had a friendship with for many years, said to me, okay, your mom was a confirmation teacher. Let your mom teach Elon confirmation, and we will confirm him next summer. He will do the full course, and he will have meetings with Bishop Malcolm, who is also a Holy Ghost father, a former bishop of Bridgetown back in Trinidad. And he will, you know, sit with Elon once a month, but let your mom teach him the first day of Elon's lessons. So you have to remember, we're in the middle of the pandemic. Trinidad is locked down. I have not been anywhere cute forever or dressed above my waist forever. So I'm super excited. So Elon comes downstairs to leave to go to my mom's house for his lesson. And he's like, Mommy, where are we going? Why are you dressed like that? I was like, darling, these shoes are not going to dry rot in this house.
Thank you.
He was like, okay. I was in full drag, Racquel, like full makeup, right? 5-inch heels.
Love it.
Okay. Very cute little dress to go to my mother's house. And because I hadn't been able to do that for months.
No, listen to me. So I have some girlfriends from high school who, whenever we would see you, be it 10 years post Miss Universe, 20 years post Miss Universe, we're like, how is it that she always manages to look Like the current Miss Universe, the current Miss Trinidad and Tobago.
No, but that is because Trinidadians are blind and biased, and I appreciate it very much. I emphatically do not look the same way I did
always
20 years ago, 24 years ago, actually. That said, you know, I'm one of those people, and I think that's why Universe worked out for me as well, because I enjoy dressing up. And it's a job, and it's a hard job, you know. You are working. Once they put that crown on your head, until the moment they take it off and place it on another, you are working, my friend. You have 5 days off for that entire year, right? And and it's exotic, fabulous work, but it's work.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
There was a 6 months in, I used to look forward to traffic. You know, at first I was like, woo, I get outriders. This is so cool. And then I realized, wait, but if I'm sitting in traffic in Puerto Rico or Singapore, I could sleep. Right? Oh my God. I could get a little 10 or 20 minutes in here, get up, pat the face with Bounty, it leaves no residue, and keep it moving. Right?
Fabulous.
You know, fabulous. So I am by nature that person. You know, the glass tends to be half full more so than it is half empty. And even on my toughest days, and I've had some rough ones, like everybody else, my rough days tend to be very public and shared with all.
Yes. And what is that like? What is that like? Especially, and I feel like even when you know, men and women everybody has rough times. And if you're a public person, you know, it's out in the public domain. But it seems as though when women are in the public domain and have a rough day, it is like a feeding frenzy. It is like, you know, because we are often held to a higher standard with less support in that standard. So what is that like, honestly?
I think because everybody's human at the end of the day, the experience is no different from anyone else. You feel the same pain, the same anxiety. I imagine, like many others, you pray and hope to get through it. You get up, as my sister says, you know, dress up, show up, blow up.
Wow, right? I love it.
So on the rough days,
show up, blow up.
Correct. We tend to take our time a little bit more, pulling ourselves together. But that doesn't mean that you're not in pain and you're not having a rough go of it. I've always been relatively good at separating my public persona from who I am, from the perspective that I don't let what people think of me dictate what I do.
Good.
I remember during my homecoming, which was delightful but overwhelming. And I turned to my travel manager, Linda Harrell, I'll never forget, in the car heading back to the Hilton one afternoon. This was after we'd done San Fernando. I think that day I'd done Chaguanas and San Fernando, and there were people lining the entire route. Think about how long that is in the Trini context, in the blazing sun, to say hello to me. And this one young man, who I still see around Port of Spain occasionally, differently able, for my homecoming, he was everywhere. You know, I would see him running next to the car, and then he would show up in whatever town I was in. It was just remarkable. And I said to Linda on the way back to the hotel that evening, I remember clearly it was a San Fernando visit because my dad is from San Fernando. A lot of my family is from San Fernando. It was a very, very emotional day. And I said to Linda, however am I going to live up to their expectations? Wow. Like, I'm a human being. This is beyond overwhelming, you know? And she said to me, darling, she's from South Carolina. She said, darling, being who got you here, it's going to see you through. Just be you. Chin up, smile, baby doll.
Wow.
And she was so right. Yeah. You know, so whether I am doing something that my people are proud of or not, or just going about my life, I am me. Yeah. You know, and I hold that very, very dear. What helps to be me is to not read my own press.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
I save a lot of it for Elon because, of course, the people around me, I realized that with my parents, with my friends, they would hear things, both good and bad.
Yeah.
you know, about me, about my life.
Yeah.
So for my son particularly, he needs to have an understanding of who his mother is,
Good and bad.
beyond what he knows.
Yeah.
Sort of put things in perspective. So I do save my press. I create scrapbooks, fail them, but I don't ever go to them. I don't read it, etc.
Yeah.
And I read everything else. When I say everything else, everything. But that keeps me sane. I am not a big fan of hearing my recorded voice played back.
Me either. Me either. It's very, very difficult for me to, you know, I'd much rather read a transcript.
Yes, so totally different.
Yeah, it sounds foreign.
The world hears something totally different to what you do when you speak. Exactly. So little things like that, you know, but and our people also keep me very grounded. You know, Trinbagonians are delightful in that way. They are either very proud of you for who you are as one of us. We are very confident people by nature. We can be brutal, but we're brutal with each other as well. You know, so
and sometimes with ourselves, I think a little bit.
Yes, you know, when I was at eTech, actually, we were doing a project with a brilliant lecturer from MIT. And he said to me after spending 2 weeks in Trinidad and Tobago, his only criticism of us as a people is that we criticize ourselves too much.
Wow. I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot. And they say that, you know, some other sort of Caribbean nationals aren't as critical. And so we almost undersell ourselves by being so self-critical.
Yes, correct. But, you know, in all of our chaos, we still excel.
Yeah.
You know, so Trinidadians, like Italians, in my opinion, that's the other place on the planet, and St. Lucia, I feel most at home.
Really?
Because Italians are, they're just like Trinis. They only work to support their liming habit. They're insanely talented, but love a love way. They don't like black and white. They operate in shades of gray. Just like we do. Italy, everywhere in Italy felt like home to me. You know, I spent a lot of time there in the early 2000s, a lot of time over a 4-year period. And I was just like, wow, this could be home, you know, because they're just very much like us in that regard. But that self-criticism, that creativity, confidence despite that, or in spite of, I think the fact that we are so hard on ourselves forces us to step up and prove a point. We're constantly proving a point to ourselves. And that works for us exceptionally well once we leave these shores. Often here too, but even more so when we leave Trinidad and Tobago.
Absolutely true. So tell us about, so fast forward to today, what's happening with you today? So
today, professionally, I am at UTT. I have been a business consultant there for a couple of years. Actually, what is this? My 3rd year. And there were 2 projects specifically that I've been working on. The fashion production company made 868, which is exactly as it sounds, a fashion a garment factory for our young designers. There's definitely a space, not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but across the Caribbean in the fashion industry, to seed new talent. So we have, you know, the Fashion Academy here, which has done exceptionally well and put out a lot of talent. But unless you are also a designer in the carnival space, a carnival arts designer, costume designer, or otherwise accessories designer for carnival, where you're producing great numbers, it's very hard to get collections that are not carnival related produced out of India, Sri Lanka, or China, because the volume is just so huge. But we have tremendous talent here, and then we send our designers, as the Ministry of Trade has done in the past repeatedly, to the various trade shows around the region. They get orders and they're only able to fill orders with a particular store, boutique, or whatever across the region, whether it's Latin America or the rest of the Caribbean, for a season or 2, because they don't have the infrastructure to consistently produce their collections at the
scale.
rate and the standard they need to be able to consistently supply the market.
Yeah.
So Made 868 is a partnership between UTT, Fashion TT, and the Ministry of Trade and Industry. UTT really has done the lion's share of the work. Of course, Fashion TT as a facilitation agency has been tremendous. I have to big up Lisa at Fashion TT for her support. So we're open now, very ready for business, and that's moving well. The other project, so I commercialize UTT's projects that support some of the non-traditional disciplines at the university. The other one is animation. You must know Camille Salvon Abrams. And if you have not interviewed her yet, you have to have her on your podcast.
Okay, I will do so.
Camille is a brilliant renegade in animation, so determined and delightful.
Yes.
Easy on her feet, hardworking, a tremendous heart. So she really built our animation program from scratch under Professor Julian's guidance at the university, and the animation program sits within the Academy of the Arts, the Performing Arts at UTT. And we just opened Tap Factory, which is the animation equivalent of the fashion garment factory at our John D campus. So Tap Factory is at Tamina, the Tamina campus. We have insanely talented animation artists and engineers in this town. Right. And we've had this program going now as an associate degree for just over 15 years. The bachelor program, just over 4 years now, we're in our 5th year. And we were creating talent, either frustrating them in Trinidad to a large extent or creating talent to export. And we're like, we have to create the opportunity here and support the animation industry here, its growth. So Tap Factory is an outsourcing venue for our industry. Our intention is to support the animation companies that exist in Trinidad, and we have a few that do phenomenally well, like Full Circle, Coded Arts, and there are quite a few others, to support their work by bringing in work and distributing it amongst the companies and the soul traders, the talent in that space that we have trained here, and making Trinidad and Tobago the catalyst for a regional animation hub. Because we have animators now across the region, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but we have the degree program and we have the infrastructure. We have the very, very, very expensive equipment, right? That changes every 2 or 3 years.
Oh my goodness, yes, because it's impossible to keep up if you're not producing at scale, huh?
Exactly. So that's why we've made this investment, and doing anything new, as I say to Camille and our team on a regular basis, building anything new to a market must be like what it was for Columbus, or be pre-Columbus even, the West Africans who discovered places like Nicaragua, etc., cutting through that jungle trying to find anything resembling what they know. It's a challenge, but it's a kind of challenge I like, and it meets all of the needs of that I have as a human being. It's creative, it's giving back, because it's public sector. It's seeing young people go from struggling to meet their fare to get to school, becoming very independent professionals, doing well. And I like that, I enjoy that very much.
But speaking of what you enjoy and your journey, and you are a woman of extraordinary talent and wide experience, very global. So what's the next big thing for you? What is the next challenge? What's the next thing that scares you? What's the next big goal?
Well, I actually have just accepted a new portfolio with a company here. I don't want to
Nice.
preempt them, so I won't make the announcement now as
Nice.
to who they are. But I will be the group's executive chairman, and
Nice.
it's a totally new space for me. It's an industry, their main industry. This company is in 4 sectors.
Nice.
But their main sector, particularly in Trinidad and Tobago, is one that is both popular and something that Trinidadians are not very proud of their participation in. So my role,
Ooh.
and I say that generally,
Uh-huh.
we can be very judgmental in this space,
Yeah.
but it's here to stay.
Yeah.
It employs many of our nationals. And again, what excited me about this particular company is that they're not just happy turning over the big dollars in this sector. They're also developing software to make their sector more secure and developing. So they have a software company that is making their sector safer and more fun. So there's innovation happening in that space as well. They're in entertainment, gaming, mining, quite a few industries. And I'm very excited about this challenge because it's totally new for me,
Oh
this
my God.
business
I
that I'm
love that.
moving
I
into.
love that. Because that is going to challenge
You have to be
You're
a
going
little
to
bit of a
learn
night
so
owl.
much.
And I am so not. I am like up at 2 a.m., like woo, ready to rock and roll. And by 8 o'clock, I am done. 8 p.m.,
I am surprised at how much we have in common in between
really?
yes, oh my gosh, I'm a 4 a.m., not a 2 a.m., but I'm a 4 a.m. I'm surprised. I'm genuinely surprised at how many things we have in common. That's good. We need to hang out.
But
But
I need to see you a little bit more on the tennis court.
yes, but with all of the changes that have taken place, I've just started back playing.
Yes.
But so everybody, this is an exclusive, the new executive chairman of the organization that shall not be yet named.
Yet named. I will not preempt them.
Wonderful, but really exciting. And I'm so delighted. I mean, what are your feelings about this new role? Yes, excitement. Yes, opportunity to learn. Yes, newness. But we don't have enough female chairman across the region, and certainly not in Trinidad. But you are one who you have broken so much ground in new spaces. So what is that feeling for you about this new challenge?
Well, luckily, the owner of the company is very supportive of all of his employees, but of women particularly. So the way in which, or I should say the primary owner of the company, the way in which he supports, and that really drew me to the organization. My first meeting with him included the outgoing chairman, who is leaving because she's just ready to move on. And you notice I said she.
Nice.
Exactly. And the head of his I think it was finance unit, and she as well. And I tend to find myself in spaces professionally and otherwise, and I surround myself with both men and women who are supportive of us.
Yes.
I always have been and always will be about the sisterhood and empowering women. And that does not mean leaving our men behind, but, being a man, you do have a tremendous advantage globally, but here definitely, there's still a lot, in my bold opinion, of misogyny in Trinidad and Tobago. And I like environments where we are allowed to flourish just as a human being, where my gender matters not. That's why I worked, I think, I took the offer because I had a couple of others at the time. I returned to Trinidad to work with ETech, but it was very clear to me after my interview with then chairman, Professor Kenneth Julian, that was the right place for me, because he treated me as just a potential executive for this company. you know, and I've so appreciated that. And that was my working experience with him.
Yeah.
And
But it's also
not just
your
me,
experience
Camille,
as growing up,
same
you
Camille
know?
at UTT and
Yeah.
several others,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm not shy about demanding and commanding respect. I'm very particular in a professional environment, how I interact with my colleagues still, very formal, sometimes to a fault. You know, I never use first names, for example. I know that's way old school, but in a professional environment, it just allows for that gentle reminder that we are in a professional environment. Yeah. And because I am by nature a little bit grinny, and sometimes people can mistake kindness for love or lust, as I have learned.
Or weakness.
Weakness, love, lust, you know, things that are not, that don't work to your advantage in a professional environment. So part of my armor, as it were, you know, I can't present any differently to who I am. As I said at the very beginning of our chat, Racquel, I am a girly girl and I'm shamelessly one. Right? I don't know how to do anything else.
Yes.
So part of my armor is just to be very consistent in my interactions as a professional. You know, I take that very, very seriously. You know?
Love that. What a wonderful note on which for us to end on, because you are authentically you, the girly girl, you know, and certainly presenting as female as you are, but also understanding that your parents raised two functioning people who were, you know, who had gender as not a confinement. And that's so important in how we raise our children, that they shouldn't be sort of gender guided in terms of what their expectations are.
Exactly.
So, and then figuring out how to create that boundary management, staying authentic to who you are, but also understanding that in a professional setting, especially as a woman, there are times when if you're one, not authentic, or two, don't sort of maintain that boundary management in whatever way you choose to do that, things can go a bit awry for you.
That's right. Yes, correct. Absolutely.
Wendy,
and even with the management, sometimes it does, but you have to hold firm to your guns.
Yes.
It will pay off in the long run, always.
Yes. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm really excited. I feel like we should have another conversation when you're into your transition and your new role.
Sure.
Yes, absolutely. To talk about what it's like. I think I have a guess as to what it is because of the details you shared with us, but I will not preempt the actual announcement. And I look forward to hearing more about it. But thank you so much for spending this time with us and sharing with us about your journey and how you've managed to be on top of so many different industries and your passion for fashion. I love it. And all of the potential that we have. Thank you for supporting that in the creative industry in Trinidad and Tobago. Your sort of global reach has certainly done us well. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Racquel. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Good stuff. All right, so see you on the tennis court.
Yes, absolutely. Looking forward.
All right. Bye.